Everyone, I am Russ Terwilliger, and I must say, on behalf of your dedicated PepsiCo healthcare food service team, we're very proud to be a part of this association. We really want to congratulate you all on a great virtual showcase. Way to go. Congratulations on that. So today, without further ado, I do have the distinct privilege and honor of introducing our keynote speaker, who truly does exemplify the Ignite Excellence theme of the conference, Eric Eisenberg. So a little background on Eric. Eric is currently the Director of Dining Services at Rogue Valley Manor, a beautiful place in the world for sure. Since his earliest days as corporate executive chef at Swedish Health Services in Seattle, he has promoted the concept that food served in healthcare should always be good, if not better, in any other food service segment. With Eric's recent transition to the senior living segment, he has already initiated these same philosophical and tangible approaches to culinary and food service offerings within this environment and vital segment within healthcare. Earlier this year, Eric was actually awarded the IFMA Silver Plate for Healthcare Food Service. Congratulations, Eric. We look forward to hearing from you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much, Russ. It's my pleasure indeed to be here and to be here with all of you today. You know, as every year I come to this conference, and this is the first year in 17 years I haven't attended an AHF conference, and I have to say it's obviously been a loss. But one of the things I always take away from conference is the ability to feel recharged, refreshed, and come back to the office with all of my ideals and my vision in full volume, ready to sort of take it all on. And I'm hoping that this session today, as the final one you're going to hear as part of our presentations that have been so phenomenal over the week, it will do the same for you. And even though you're all still back at the ranch, you'll bust out of your offices at the end of this and be ready to sort of take on some new challenges by creating commitment within your teams, striking that cultural balance between leaders, us as leaders, and those people that we serve. And creating commitment, C.R.E.A.T.E is an acronym that identifies the human and emotional, intellectual traits, those skills and characteristics that we need as leaders and in life to truly balance our leadership presence, and the human being that kind of lives within each and every one of us. And once that balance is struck, we have a platform that we can manage, from which to manage, where we have a place of true respect and admiration for those people that we serve, our staff, and the people that we are literally serving in our environments, with a clear expectation of our performance and accountability of those that are taking care of those people that we serve. So I want you to think back and remember, in the beginning, there was only one pure, unadulterated vision, and it was yours and yours alone. Think back to that first day of your current job. You were so filled with enthusiasm. Finally, you were the one who would break through and be the leader this team always needed to be successful. The ultimate wonderful team was just sitting there dormant, waiting for you and your insight, your vision and passion, your passion for your work. That was exactly what this group of people needed to finally see the light. They would instantly recognize your value, and they would march with you lockstep into the promised land where every patient, every resident, every customer, every coworker only gets the absolute highest level of quality and service, and every interaction, every selfless act is a moment of truth that's motivated only by the desire to be the very best every time in every possible interaction. You had a vision. Surely they'd understand that. You had a mission. Certainly they would feel as passionately as you do. And those that don't right away, they don't feel you right away, They need only hear what you have to say. I mean, really hear you, and they would undoubtedly be sure to follow, right? It's so simple. I just want us to be the very best and have everyone that we touch and interact with love us. That's not too much to ask, is it? They'll get it, right? Of course they will. They have to. Who of you has had some version of this internal dialogue? How many, even years later, still have at least a few, or maybe more than a few, that still don't get it, no matter how well we feel we've woven our message into the culture within our team? Of course you have them. We all do. Because only you are you. Only you will feel the way you specifically do. And over the years of doing everything that I can possibly think of to convey my mission, my view, my perspective, only I have my lens. And it's impossible to focus another's view through that lens. Equally depressing, and at the risk of sounding like a fatalist, how you feel, what you know to be true about the right way to behave at work, the correct way to interact with those we serve, it just can't be taught, because it simply can't be forced. But it can be modeled, and therefore it can be emulated. You know, there is no hammer that's big enough to pound you and your square peg of views, your passions, your emotional intelligence into the round hole in which the people you lead lie in wait for you to make your next mistake or deliver that next unfortunate announcement from administration that'll impact their lives. I mean, we can show them how we feel. We can show them how we want them to behave and how to act by being who we say we want them to be. But we cannot make anyone or teach anyone to be committed to our ideals. But we can create a cultural shift that does start with us. The glow that emanates from us, even when it doesn't feel like it. Little by little, it'll engulf those around us. And we will have begun to create commitment. Now, to create commitment, you've got to start with a connection. What happens during first impressions and how long-lasting those perceptions can be. You know, you make a bad first impression and you may just lose that potentially amazing relationship, that staff member, or that promotion. You know, micro expressions and gestures that we don't even know we're making can sideline a greeting, a productive meeting, a conversation, and most importantly, passing up the opportunity to connect can deprive you of a moment of truth and a real opportunity to shine. To make those looking at you feel good that you're their boss, and most importantly, that you feel good about yourself and the example you're setting for other people. Now, I promise this isn't going to be a discussion on brain function, but there is one tidbit worth mentioning. There's a part of the brain that helps us navigate our social world, and it's called the amygdala. Actually, there's two of them, and they're located in the hippocampus, in the frontal portion of the temporal lobe. They are essential to your ability to feel certain emotions and to perceive them in other people. And this is important because in here, in the amygdala, it's in here in the amygdala where the first impressions are made. It's that same area of the brain that assigns value, like the cost or the price of an object. So, you know, much like food in an airport, once we decide it's not worth it, we'll decide to go hungry before giving into that. Or that tchotchke, you know, at a garage sale that we wanted, but not for 10 bucks. So we leave it behind. And then we maybe long for it, but even consider going back for it, but we never actually do. It's this incredible weight of the first impression. Once someone has assigned their value to us, it's very difficult to change their opinion. First impressions are an involuntary response that can impact potentially months and even years of relationship building. And one of the best ways to take advantage of a first impression is to give people a reason to trust and value you. Bringing up shared social connections is probably one of the best ways to establish trust. And don't forget about the power of a sincere smile. But remember, you're doing this to work around a more primitive and therefore faster area of the brain. And the ultimate goal is to give someone the impression that it's not only okay for them to get close to you, but it would be in their best interest and well worth their time to do so. When we learn to trust, it makes room to experience joy. Don't we all just want our teams and ourselves to be joyful at work and in life? When I first started working in healthcare, I had never had a job like that before. I had never been in management at that level. And I was new to meetings, and I worked in a big hospital, and I had to go from one place to the other, and I always kind of felt like I was being pushed and pulled, and I was truly busier than I had ever been as a professional. I'd always just worked in the kitchen. This was new. And I remember so distinctly, I was walking down the hallway from my office on my way to a meeting, and one of my new cooks, who I hadn't actually even really met yet, was brave enough and had the wherewithal, who saw me in the hallway as I was on my way, and gleefully made a point of reaching out and saying, "Hello, chef. Nice to meet you. How are you today?" And I answered with one word: "I'm busy." And off I went. Now, fast forward 5 years, and I had to have a conversation with this cook about a performance issue. And I had him in the office, and it took me about 4 words before this guy blew up, exploded on me. "You see, this is why nobody likes you. Nobody can talk to you. You don't listen to anyone. You don't care." And I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. That's not who I was. That's not the image I tried to present to people. That wasn't the leader I believed myself to be. And so I pressed back. I said, "That's not true. That's not who I am. What are you talking about? Where do you get this from?" And he went back 5 years and described the situation where, "You were new, and I was trying to be nice and reach out to you and welcome you, and all you had to say to me was how busy you were." Well, the years went by, so I apologized, and the years went by, and we actually had a very good relationship while we continued to work together after that. But I lost 5 years of a really good relationship with a really decent employee who cared about his work because I was too busy to pay attention. And it's really important to remember that goes both ways. It can be very dangerous if we fall prey to our primitive urges and make a hasty decision based in a first impression that could potentially rob us of a fruitful and rewarding experience because we couldn't see past the initial value we applied to a person or a situation. And so when we run into situations like that, it's important that we respond appropriately. We have to do what we say we're going to do. And I know we've all heard that before. As we grow into the demands of our leadership role, and we develop over time the need to be that responsive superhero that is so important to the value we put on our own success. If we're not seen as a superhero, we don't feel like we're successful. If we cannot be there for everyone, take care of the needs of our patients, our residents, our staff, our leadership team, our boss, to be able to juggle all those conflicting priorities, then in our minds, we're not successful if we can't hold that all together. And in fact, when we're doing that, we're really not being responsive at all. We're being reactive. We've been reacting, and therefore, we know we've been spread too thin. We've overpromised. And by overpromising, we've lost the ability to overdeliver. It's gone. We've said, yes, of course, right away, I'll have it for you at the end of the business day, one too many times. And as a result, the end of the business day comes, Bobby has Little League, and we've got to go. So we log off, assuring ourselves that we'll take care of it first thing in the morning when we arrive. But of course, we arrive the next day to find dozens of new priorities that have just hit our inbox overnight, and the pile just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And we find ourselves not following through and not responding on those things that we feel we need to respond on. And that erodes people's confidence in us. And just responding isn't enough. We have to respond appropriately and provide specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, I know you've all seen this before, SMART, right? We talk about this in terms of our own goals. But time-bound, SMART outcome that you can actually follow through on that provides a reasonable expectation to the person waiting for the response. Now, please, here's the disclaimer. Let's be very, very clear. When your boss tells you they need something by the end of the day, please make other plans for Bobby, stay at the office, and get it done. But when you have the opportunity to define the finish line, that you're thoughtful enough to ensure that the response you're going to give the recipient is going to give them a sense of comfort and security, that you will actually take care of it. So what does that look like? I had a situation where there was a member of my team that wanted to take some time off, and it was during a critical time period when we had an important department-wide project that was being implemented during the same time frame. I'd already announced months before that the dates they were requesting off were blacked out. People couldn't go away. So how do you respond to that question, even though you know you've given the information in advance? Well, on the one hand, it's cut and dry. The groundwork had been laid previously. It's blacked out. If they can't go, sorry. Not sorry. Sometimes responding appropriately, when it truly is cut and dry, just telling it like it is the proper response. And the end, being brave enough to be transparent and truthful and not beat around the bush, is the most fair response that allows the person to just get on with their lives and figure out an alternate solution. If there is a glimmer of hope, though, or you simply don't know it, and you can possibly do something for them, offer that SMART response. So I've had this happen, as I told you. And so, here's how a SMART response would go. Well, we've already blocked it out, and I know that this is really important to you. But I can give you an answer once I've spoken to your supervisor or your teams, your teammates, your coworkers. That's specific. I can measure it by saying, they can help me determine if they can handle their part of the project without you. And if they can, great. So let me look at my calendar. This is an achievable, realistic goal for me to make sure I get back to them. Looking at my calendar, I can tell you that I can discuss it with them on Thursday. That's our operations meeting, and I'll get an answer for you on Friday. But then actually put it on your calendar and make sure that you respond. In the end, the answer may still be no. But you've sent the message that you've taken the time to give them a well thought out response and with their best interest and the best interest of the team in mind. And that shows true engagement. Engagement. that's a powerful word. We talk about engagement with marriage, until death do us part. But engaging with patients, residents, peers, your staff, your loved ones, they need to know you're committed to their experience of you being responsible for them. And engaging with people that you're simpatico with, people that you like, that you get along with, can be taken for granted because it comes more easily. But being truly engaged with everyone you come in contact with, even that really, annoying employee you've got, or that really challenging frequent flyer patient, or the resident, being engaged with those people, that takes work. And it's directly related to how engaged you are at work. Your ability to do that is directly related to how engaged you are at work in general. If every day you have to drag yourself through the front door of your workplace, you might be less happy with your job than you realize. And I'm not talking about the occasional day where you feel grumpy or tired or frustrated. When those dour moods hit, most of us can check our bad mood at the door and get on with it. We can go ahead and put on a happy face by faking a smile and then go home and sleep it off. We all have tough days, but there's no lasting harm done. But when we're consistently faking it, when day after day our brains are stuck in this pep talk loop, you can't get out of the car, you just keep trying to convince yourself that it's okay to go inside. And we force ourselves to display the right kind of emotional intelligence, but we're really just depleting valuable energy. And as a result, it's a drain. It's a drain on our reserves, and it erodes our confidence as leaders. Now, in an ideal world, we all know exactly what we're doing all the time. People come to us for our calm guru-ness, grateful as we solve problems with a self-assured answer or a bit of advice. Hey, newsflash, we don't know it all. But with a bit of bravado and confidence, no one else needs to know that. So I reflect on sort of the fake it till you make it concept to bolster my workplace confidence, which ultimately is helpful in leading a team to professional glory, in work and even for personally in life. Sometimes you just have to get in there and go for it, whether you're 100% sure you can or not. But first, I had to stop fearing failure. Failing is not the end of the world. Failing at something, having a failure, it's not the end. Things actually move forward when something or someone you're responsible for or counting on fails. It can be a huge disappointment, but typically you come out of that better. And it may be a stressful time, but you'll learn a lot about problem-solving skills and your ability to rebound. Once you realize that your professional life isn't over if you make a mistake or don't accomplish a particular goal, you can use that to build your confidence and see lousy outcomes as a chance to rebound into better things. Just don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And as with responding in general, if you promise a better outcome based on an error, whether that's personally, professionally, to your boss, to your servant, to your staff, to your client, do what you say you'll do. Do it. Make sure it gets done. Something that I also really struggled with over the years is realizing that I'm not a fraud. You're not a fraud. Are you familiar with the imposter syndrome? It's where you feel like you're a sham and that everyone will somehow find out that you're secretly winging it. Or that you're really just that helpless kid, the same kid you were when you graduated high school, but just now you have a title. But you're not winging it. The person sitting in your spot is you. With all your experience, all of your knowledge, whether you realize you have that arsenal or not, own it. Whatever success you've achieved belongs to you. Even if you feel unsure about it, own it. As Russ mentioned in my introduction, this year, 2020, I was the Silver Plate recipient for healthcare. And that was a huge honor. And from the time I was nominated, which is going on 4 years ago, to the time I actually received the award, the entire time I just kept saying to myself, every time I was asked about it or congratulated about it, I kept saying, well, there's clearly been some mistake. Why me? In fact, all of you out there, there's dozens of you, hundreds of you out there that are equally deserving of such an honor. Why me? I haven't done anything special. I've just gone to work every day and done my best. And every time I would say that to people, they'd be like, Eric, you're being ridiculous. You've worked hard and you've really tried to move the needle. And as it started sinking in, and the more interviews that I did about the Silver Plate, I kind of sank in a little more. And then I really did have a light bulb moment during one particular interview where I realized that I guess it didn't feel anything special or a lot like hard work to get here, because I was really enjoying and love what I do. And there's that old saying, which is so cliche, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. But I will tell you that here I am kind of at what I hope to be the later stages of my career. I get to retire sometime, in the not too distant future. And I can look back and say, I really enjoyed what I did and I was impactful. And because of that, I had a lot of success, and I feel really great about what I've left behind. And I think that, if you've ever walked in through the door and you've ever had an issue where you aren't feeling like you really know what you're doing, you do. And that's how you got to where you are now. Now, don't rest on your laurels, though, because it's important to not always be the cockeyed optimist. Don't always wear rose-colored glasses. I mean, optimism is great. Don't get me wrong. I love being upbeat. No one likes a downer. However, being overly optimistic, that can actually undermine your confidence. It may give you a false sense that things are going to turn out well, even when they may not. And they let you kind of go on autopilot to let some things play out that you really should have circumvented in the first place. So the more confident approach is to be realistic about outcomes and understand that what is within your power to make happen, you should go forward and make happen and not necessarily sit back. It's also important to figure out and know what your value is. One of the best ways to be confident in your role is to recognize the strengths you bring to the table. I don't mean monetary value necessarily, but know, what am I good at? What am I not good at? And once you understand what you do well, you can strategize how to apply that to areas where you might be struggling. And that helps you look to build experience or competence in those areas, or understand that you don't need to go it alone. You're not in this by yourself. You can rely on the people on your team, their strengths. I do that all the time. My team knows 100 times more stuff about what happens in my day-to-day operations than I do. It's fine to ask someone that reports to you what they think your strengths are, or ask your boss or a peer. In fact, it shows the people that rely on you that you're taking a proactive approach to your role and really trying to bring your best self to work every day. Now, I'm not one that's really big on positive affirmations or anything like this, but I'll tell you what, making confidence a habit can't hurt. And making some positive thinking part of your daily routine is a good practice. Take a minute to reflect on any challenge you're facing and think about how you're going to overcome it. Don't stress about how you're going to get it done. Just think about how you know you have the skills to take it on, and assure yourself that you'll get it done, and then you'll figure out how to do it. Now, in order to sort of step ahead and figure out how you're going to do it, you need to anticipate what's coming next. Now, Muhammad Ali, the greatest, once said, "It's not the mountains that wear you out, it's the pebbles in your shoe." Now, as leaders, our job is to look toward the future and remove barriers. We do this by anticipating the needs of our employees and those they serve. If we're always reacting, it's like we're walking through deep snow. When will it let up? How do we get out of this mess, and how's it going to impact our reputation? Learning to move the rocks before they can get stuck in anybody's shoe, that's the game. But to truly drive our teams to the success we need to create anticipation in the daily work. By anticipating the needs of our clients, our residents, our patients, by anticipating the needs of our staff, by looking forward to their needs, we anticipate the work that needs to be done. Now, remember how you felt as a kid the week before your birthday? If you're like me, you were particularly bursting with anticipation. My birthday is the 4th of July. I would look forward to my uncle bringing sparklers that he would get from North Carolina. He would drive down south and get illegal fireworks, the party in the backyard with my friends, the Carvel ice cream cake with the chocolate crunchies in the middle. Oh, and of course, the presents. What would I get? The anticipation was palpable. And while your anticipation might not be quite the same today about birthdays, we can learn much about leadership influence from this birthday anticipation idea. I know that the specifics of your memories may be quite different from mine, or maybe I haven't painted your picture of a birthday at all, but even if my story isn't the same as yours, there are some common things that create anticipation day to day, in the moment. Is it something you can look forward to? When you make an assignment or delegate something, is it something you're saying, look forward to what you'll get from this opportunity? Or is it something that is impending doom? So is it something you can look forward to, get excited about the impending event? Are there specific images that you have that you can share that will make people feel good about what's coming? Which will create some positive expectancy? Something that you're helping your team to anticipate and see something that's really positive coming in the tasks that are ahead of them. Are you aware and heightened about what's coming? Are you more aware of what's going on around you? Do you feel alive and feel good about the possibility of this opportunity to do something great? All of these factors contribute to your own personal anticipation and what you can then share and present to help your team anticipate the work in front of them. The more you're willing and able to do things to create those moments of truth and compel your team to look forward to coming to work each day, is going to help them embrace your vision and potentially take it on as their own. And it's important to create a clear and compelling vision. Leaders need vision. Without it, you're not even in the game if you don't have a vision. You got to start somewhere. And don't wave this off as somebody else's job or a corporate structure that needs to tell you what's important. Leaders at every organizational level need to have a vision for themselves and for their team. Even if their vision has been expressed and is modeled at a higher level in the organization, it has to be personalized. And how it's created in their image is what builds anticipation and influences the behavior of their teams. And when you create that vision, is it clear? Can people see themselves in that future? Do they know what it's going to look like? Can they feel it? Can they smell it? Are they in it? Can they truly live that? And is it compelling? Is it something that says, wow, that's really cool. People want to arrive at this destination. They want to get there. They want to come with you. Do they get excited and see it meaningful? Or is it going to just be work? Now, I work in a beautiful facility in Southern Oregon. And if you've never been to Southern Oregon, it's really beautiful here. It's sun 300 days of the year and beautiful. I'm looking out my window right now. It's a gorgeous sunny day, 100 degrees outside. And it's just a beautiful place to be. And every summer, and the beautiful wine country here, we grow incredible grapes for all types of varietals of wine. And we have this incredible wine event every year called the Oregon Wine Experience. It is the absolute #1 biggest food and beverage, sort of food festival wine experience of this entire region, state of Oregon. And it happens down here in our little hamlet. And last year, I kind of got wind of it, and I was invited to participate at a certain level. And I said, you know what? We really want all in. We're going to really dig in and do something big. And we then took on, my team and I, took on participating in their biggest event, 1,000 attendees at their grand medal celebration. And I took this to my team, and they all looked at me with giant eyes, which clearly indicated they thought I was crazy. What do you mean? Offsite, catering for 1,000 people at the highest level, all food and wine enthusiasts. How? But we began to paint a picture. And we didn't talk about all the challenges in front. We talked about all the opportunities, all the exposure we would get, all the credibility, the street cred we would get in the food and beverage game in the Valley if a retirement community brought their A game and just blew everybody away. And that's exactly what we did. And we changed the story. We flipped the script of what people thought about what we did up here on our hill on our beautiful campus, from feeding a bunch of old people to being a really amazing culinary destination that people would long to participate in and be part of. And by the time it was all over, every single one of my staff that participated in that thought it was the greatest experience, professional experience they had in a really long time, if not ever. And that's why having meaningful milestones are really important. Giving people a place to go. Having a vision, even a compelling one, is great, but it may be a long way off. Like the Oregon Wine Experience was months and months and months in the planning, more than half a year. And like your birthday feels as a kid. You're at a friend's birthday party that's a few months before yours, and it's just so far away. But then parents start asking you, like, what do you think you want for your birthday? Or where do you want to have your birthday party? Or you're picking out and ordering the cake, or birthday cards start to arrive with $5 bills or $10 bills in them from grandma. These milestones show progress, and they keep the vision in front of us in visual ways. And so it's important that when you build this enthusiasm, this excitement, it can't just be something that's far off in the distance. It has to be tangible each day, every day. I come to work every day and I have something to look forward to. Do you have milestones that people contribute to? Do those milestones show real progress towards the vision? If you aren't connected to the vision, or people don't see them as they're achieved, you'll lose momentum. And then you lose anticipation, and then you lose belief, and the vision goes out the window. It's got to be in front of them every day. They got to see the finish line. That beautiful tiki hut at the end of that beautiful dock in the water. Remember, is it something to look forward to? Are you excited about the impending event? Is there a specific image, like laying out in front of that beautiful water, that makes you feel positive about it, that you want to get there, that you're anticipating it? Does it heighten your awareness of wanting to be part of it? Does it make you feel better and feel more alive to be in it? Let's not forget, past experiences play hugely into anticipation. A positive experience previously will pay off in dividends of positive anticipation for future events. So look at next week differently, and then look at all the challenges you face for weeks to come differently. And just chuck them off a little bit at a time and look at each possible little milestone to get you to some of those really great finished results that your team can take pride in and enjoy and make you as a leader successful. Now, in order to get people behind you, trust you, it requires transparency. And now, I know transparency is overused in leadership terms, but that doesn't make it any less true. Always tell the truth, right? Always tell the truth to the appropriate audience at the appropriate time in the appropriate place. Not everybody can handle the truth. Sometimes the truth is more information than someone needs. At any particular point in time, there's a level of inclusion that could wreck their world. It's important to gauge when to open up and when to keep your mouth shut. Trust and transparency have become popular workplace demands as employees seek to be aware of what's real and true. Our staff, people have grown tired of surprises, and they want to exist in a workplace that allows them to have greater clarity. And we do that by eliminating the unknown. And then it doesn't allow it to kind of creep into their minds because they don't know what's coming. I can guarantee you, if you survey your workplace, besides the need for job security and career advance opportunities, employees want to be part of a workplace culture that puts a premium on delivering the truth. They desire their leaders to be proactive in sharing where the company is headed and be forthright about its future or things that are coming their way. In other words, they just want transparency so they can protect themselves and plan ahead so that they know what they can do. And they don't have to worry about what's coming next. Those days of a utopian place, the traditional workplace, those days are over. Most people now realize that they need to look out for themselves if their employers are unwilling or unable to do so. And as such, companies are going to lose top talent if they're not mindful about their employees' needs. And concurrently, they're going to pay a heavy price to replace and rebuild momentum that was left behind. Being transparent is a powerful thing. If you can trust yourself and be trusted by others, it's powerful. The reason most leaders are not transparent is because they believe they'll be viewed as less authoritative, or that the credentials they work so hard to attain will lose their power or leverage. This is a problem with a lot of leaders. They're not aware that the reality that exists around them, they're not a completely, as I said, even in operation, there's tons of things that happen around here I don't necessarily know about. But your people want to relate to you. They want to know that you've experienced the same problems that they have. They want to know that you've overcome personal hardships. They want to know you recognize the world that exists around them on a daily basis. The digital age has allowed people to learn more about their leaders. Social media, it's suddenly given people the permission to enter into our space, a place that was previously prohibited from entering, or even us sharing. And the digital age has changed that. And the level of transparency that is expected of us from the people that we lead. We're living in a time when people want and expect their leaders to be more human, less perfect, even vulnerable, regardless of where they fit in the hierarchy. Being the boss doesn't mean as much as it once did. This need for transparency in society is at an all-time high. And there's a reason, you know, people would rather see a video blog than read a blog. They want access to people's facial expressions. They want eye contact. They want to see the body language. People want to evaluate whether someone is acting or being genuine. People want their leaders, people want you, your people want you to be someone who can deliver the balance between knowledge in your head and wisdom that comes often from the heart. They want both. They need a balance. For leaders in the workplace, this means taking the time to be transparent by communicating less over email and less through third-party communication, and being more personally engaged with their employees, more face-to-face, or in this day and age, video interaction, and with greater frequency. And this will build trust, but more importantly, it'll set a precedent that will move through your teams, and it'll establish a certain kind of loyalty and an attitude that, if done well, can ripple throughout your teams, ripple down all, you know, to your frontline workers, all the way through your organization. And relationships in these environments, in this new intimacy, they don't truly begin to take shape until a problem is encountered and resolved together. Employees learn more about one another when they can work towards solving problems together. And they can do that more easily when their leaders are transparent. I'm reflecting on a situation I experienced as COVID-19 had come into full swing, and we were trying to figure out how to get things back to some semblance of normalcy for our residents. Now, I know the intentions were good. They were positive intentions, but I had a senior leader from my organization come up with an idea that simply just would not work in my community. It was an impossibility. The directive created a rift between me and my senior leadership, and we went rounds, spending a lot of time arguing about this issue. I resisted, they insisted. After so much angst and building mistrust, my senior corporate counterpart called me and transparently shared the why, the big W we all talk about, right? Knowing the why. Shared the why with me and helped me understand the underlying intentions. That ability to be vulnerably straight with me allowed me to find an alternate approach to achieving the directive, explore other options, and gave us an opportunity to collaborate on an alternate strategy. It was a game changer. Through transparency, teams are also built more easily. It's a powerful unifier, but team building through transparency takes shape when the leader of the team can openly discuss what they believe are the strengths and weaknesses of the team. This creates a platform with the help from the team itself, and can begin to strategically match people to handle certain assignments, which lets us put the right people on the right seats on the bus. And this can cultivate a more entrepreneurial spirit amongst your team, where your team members are motivated by working to their strengths, and now they're experiencing more success, and then the team is being more successful, and everybody becomes more confident. And as relationships grow more authentically, they mature faster, and as openness occurs within the teams, it creates more understanding, and it potentially really helps to avoid those misunderstandings, which often can fuel unnecessary tension amongst people that are working together, particularly in close contact, that rely on each other. When you're transparent, people can be much more objective in evaluating the pros and cons of you as their leader. If you're transparent, especially during the worst of times, you actually strengthen your leadership as people begin to trust you as a person, and then ultimately respect you more as a leader. And that's infectious, because people who've may have trusted you in the past, but you show transparency, and employees are now maybe more willing to promote trust in you to other people. And that really is where the flywheel starts to turn. So efficient problem solving, plus the ability to build teams easier, plus the development of authentic relationships, plus trust, equals higher levels of performance. It's really, really that simple. Unfortunately, the lack of transparency that still exists among leaders in the workplace can potentially put any one of these powerful factors at risk, which leads to less than optimal levels of performance. And the irony to that is that in the end, it's the leader who loses when performance wanes. So, it's always best to be open and honest. A truly great leader is one who serves to inspire hope and opportunity, and not one that stands in the way of honesty, authenticity, or the ability to just be a genuine human being with the people that you serve. And being genuine requires empathy. Now, simply saying you understand, giving into the needs and demands of others, and then being put off about it after the door is closed, now we all know that's not empathy. That's reconciling yourself to the inevitable expected behavior, and what I often refer to as it's the they're going to call out anyway mentality. If we expect those around us to get us, to truly understand our vision, or truly be dedicated to our cause, we better always assume positive intent, and we better be prepared to return the favor. Empathy is a leadership competency which, like no other skill, can have a huge impact when it comes to your ability to lead. Empathy means being able to understand the needs of others. It means you're always aware of what is going on in their heads and what they're feeling in their hearts. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with their point of view every time, but it does mean that you're willing to understand and listen to it and appreciate it. You know, many people are quick to reduce empathy to some touchy-feely, non-essential ability, which is a kind of a nice to have, but in truth, it's an important leadership competency that can be difficult to master and very, very demanding to maintain. And it has a major impact on supporting the culture of a highly, highly functioning team. At the core of leadership, it's ultimately about others. It means inspiring them to take actions beyond their comfort or their capability, leading them in a direction that is compelling and inspiring. And empathy, that's the foundation of those actions. Empathy creates bonds. When you care about another, you create a strong bond. You're better able to connect and understand their interests and perspectives. Imagine the power of your teams, your business, your leadership, with the bonds between all of those things strengthened by some true empathy. Empathy gives insight. It's important to remember that the story we tell in our minds, what's going on in our head, it is completely different from the story playing in the minds of others. It's only through listening intently to others that you can begin to understand these differences. When you listen, you learn, and when you learn, you gain insight. There's a story behind every person, a reason why they are the way they are. Empathy allows you to think before you judge and before you make any assumptions about who it is you're dealing with. Empathy teaches presence. It means listening attentively, putting your complete focus on the person in front of you without becoming distracted. As a leader, you're present to listen, understand, assist, and support, not necessarily to advise or fix or reply, but just to simply be there Be present. Being present means allowing others to have their moment. And it teaches us as leaders to be patient. It means putting others ahead of yourself, which in today's competitive workplace can be challenging, especially for younger people that are new to leadership. Empathy guides understanding. It's not always easy to understand why someone feels or thinks the way they do. People often react in ways that are surprising, and it may leave you clueless about how to respond. But with no empathy in your leadership toolkit, you don't have that skill. But when you have it there, you don't have to worry how to respond, because the goal is not to respond, but to listen, not to reply, but to understand. Empathy allows you to understand others without passing judgment or making assumptions. Empathy can sharpen your people skills. Demonstrating empathy is hard. It takes time and effort to show awareness and understanding, and when it comes to building teams and earning trust, you have to take an interest in people to show you care. You have to show curiosity by asking questions about their challenges, their families, their aspirations. When you do, you build empathy and you sharpen your people skills. And very importantly, empathy cultivates better communicators. When you're acting in empathy, you listen in a way that makes other people want to speak to you and communicate in a way that makes you feel safe to talk to you. To effectively communicate means realizing and acknowledging the differences in the choices we make and the way we perceive the world, and then using this understanding to guide your communication with others. At the end, empathy is a leadership capability that is well worth cultivating. A soft skill maybe, but it leads to hard, tangible performance results. In the words of the immortal Dr. Martin Luther King, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Now, I know we don't necessarily talk about our team members in terms of love and hate. I know you can all relate to times when our frustration or disappointment got the best of us. It's not easy to always be the light that drives out the darkness. But what does empathy have to do with leadership? Everything. Because leadership is about having the ability to relate and connect and listen and bond with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives. And when people are empowered and inspired, they have confidence in their work, they have confidence in themselves, and their performance will reflect that. So, in the end, if we make meaningful connections, respond appropriately to those that need and rely on us, engage to make each encounter a moment of truth, anticipate the needs and hopes of the teams we serve, and give them something to strive for and anticipate each day. Transparently emulate openness and inclusion, and do so with empathy, keeping our head and our hearts in the game. We can be well on our way to creating a culture within our teams and embracing the privilege of leading other people and bridging the gap between the person we are inside and the leader we hope to be and the people we serve. Thank you all so much. It has been a real privilege and honor to talk to you all today.
And I think that we're going to have Stephanie and Angela join us back on. I haven't seen any questions come through, so I think we can move on to Stephanie and Angela's segment.
Well, thank you, Eric, for bringing us home with a wonderful closing session. Our AHF family has successfully engaged over the last 4 weeks, and doesn't everybody here feel totally energized to face whatever else 2020 can put on our plates? I have to say being transparent and truthful has to be part of my everyday this year. And our team has never been stronger because of that. We all know that everyone is going to ignite excellence after listening to all the speakers and all that they do as they go forward in this year.
We also want to share a final thank you to our outstanding conference planning committee and personally to my fellow co-chair, the one and only Miss Angela O'Neill, as well as leadership and AHF staff for making our 2020 virtual conference such a tremendous success. We absolutely hope to see you all in Dallas next year. And until then, be well and stay safe, my friends. And thank you for all you do. Bye.